Whoa, what's up you fellas? Haz here. What are we talking about today? Bro, something a little bit different, eh? I'm gonna do a mini review for a game that I just have to tell you fellas something about, eh? Bro, it's called Darkest Dungeon, man. Have you fellas heard of it? Why not?
Darkest Dungeon was developed by Red Hook Studios, and originally released back in 2016 for the PC, but has since been ported to the PS4, PlayStation Vita, iPad, Nintendo Switch, and recently the Xbox One. So there's no excuses, You can pretty much play it anywhere, man. I really like this game so much, man. It's an RPG / dungeon crawler, but it's done in a way unlike anything that I've ever really seen before. It feels completely fresh. Graphically, this game is 100% unique, man. There is nothing else out there like it, It is beautifully crafted in a style that instantly makes it stand out on its own. I love how grim, filthy, and absolutely dark it looks. The characters and monsters and even environment designs really exaggerate the feeling of absolute hopelessness. And when that is combined with a soundtrack that grows more and more sinister as the torchlight in the dungeon dims, it's just brilliant, man. Red Hook has created a game that really truly makes you feel something for your ragtag bunch of hopelessly doomed adventurers. The bulk of the gameplay takes place in a small hamlet that acts as your safe haven where you recoup from your utterly dread-inducing delves into any of the 4 dungeon areas. The hamlet contains various buildings that can be upgraded. There is a guild and a blacksmith, which handles the skills of your characters and of course their weapons and armor upgrades, and there are other buildings that are used to keep your character's sanity in check, like the tavern and the sanitarium. There are 4 normal dungeon areas in the main game: the ruins, the weald, the cove, and the warrens. And within each of those there are different quest levels and quest styles that have different success requirements. Each area also contains different enemies with unique strengths and weaknesses. There are also bosses in each of those dungeons, which can be a brutally nail-biting experience, which will pretty much end up in your death if you're not prepared, man. As I mentioned earlier, the torchlight slowly dims the longer you explore, which increases the loot potential by a massive amount, But it also ups the ferocity of the enemy attacks, and it increases the rate at which the fear builds inside your characters. So the darker it gets, the more you put your team at risk, but the greater the rewards, man. The goal of Darkest Dungeon is to build yourself a team, send them into the dungeons to complete tasks, gather loot in order to upgrade their abilities, and also the facilities available to you back in the hamlet. Now what makes this game so completely different is that you will form attachments to your party members, And you know what, man? Those heroes will die. Permanently. Gone. Forever, man. And if they don't die, they will be afflicted with diseases.
Oh my god!
They will suffer from mental disorders.
Oh my god!
And they will require days in the sanitarium, maybe gambling, drinking in the tavern just to forget what happened to them the last time they went into the dungeon. It really creates an amazing dynamic for you to build a party from the 15 classes available and then manage that growth, both positive and negative, as a result of those excursions into the unknown. The grand finale of all of this is of course to take your team of seasoned veterans and then send them into the penultimate darkest dungeon. You must defeat the boss that resides there to essentially beat the game. But let me make it short for you fellas. The Darkest Dungeon is pretty much where all your most powerful heroes go to die. Even the most simplest enemies in there can wipe your party out in one single encounter, putting an end to literally dozens of hours of preparation time. Bro, just thinking about the amount of battles and the stuff that those heroes have endured just to reach the Darkest Dungeon and die on the first encounter. Oh man, the dread and even anxiety that this game will instill in you is very real. Even old Haz just avoided sending his heroes into the darkest dungeon even when they were 100% maxed out in all of the stats and completely upgraded, man. I didn't want them to die, bro. Combat in Darkest Dungeon is brilliant. It comes down to a simple mechanic of your party structure versus the enemy's party structure. Your party consists of 4 and they move and fight in formation. Certain classes can only fight and use their abilities from being in certain positions in that lineup. So building a team that can fight or be effective from their position is crucial. Enemy parties, however, can often mess up your party order, eh? This allows for some very creative enemy skills and abilities, and also provides an easy to grasp platform for a lot of deep thought and preparation to tackle certain enemies and boss fights. To top this all off, there is a random dice roll style element to all of these things. So just when you've got that 95% chance to hit, man, and you just, it's coming right down to the wire, bro, and you just need that, you've only got a 5% chance to miss, bro, sometimes you will miss, and you will die. So it's back to the hamlet to recruit more fresh meat for the dungeon. One last thing I wanted to point out really quickly, is that the voice narration throughout this is absolutely mind-blowing, man. Wayne June will set the tone for the Darkest Dungeon's atmosphere from the moment you start the game. This fella literally sounds exactly how the characters of Darkest Dungeon looks, man. Check it out.
With relic and ritual, I've bent every effort towards the excavation and recovery of those long-buried secrets.
I absolutely recommend any RPG fan to try this game if they haven't done so yet. It's addictive, rewarding, anxiety-inducing, and it will grab you and force you to pay attention. It's not a very casual RPG, and you will most certainly not button mash your way through any encounter, even with casual enemies. But it will provide you with dozens and dozens of dungeon crawling, town building, and team management hours. It's just awesome, bro.
So I gave this game a total score of 8.5 hamlets out of 10. Don't forget to tap on that like and subscribe buttons, eh? Why not? Why not? Why not? See you fellas on the next one.